place of bones might not be a place that you want to be, but we'll see. And let's see what the IMDb plot has to say to start off here. 1876. We're going back in time. A mother and daughter, alone on a remote ranch, fight for survival against a gang of ruthless outlaws. All right. Sounds like a western. So what are we doing here? Yeah, it is definitely a western here. Listed also here on IMDb as drama thriller western. Missing horror there, but I guess when I got the press release to this, they mentioned horror in here, so I was definitely interested. So we'll talk about the horror in this as well. So a little interesting. It's missing there, but uh, we'll get into that in a minute. But let's start with the usual here at the top. As I said, did a press release for this, so I got a screener for this. So let you guys know that at the top. And since this is obviously a new film, I'll keep this as spoiler free as possible. And there is some twists and turns in this one, so I will definitely keep that as silent as I can so that you guys can enjoy that. Kind of makes it a little hard, I'll admit, to kind of talk about it in full and then give you guys the full here, but because I definitely want to save that for you guys to catch. But we'll see what I can say about this one without giving it away. So yeah, it stars Heather Graham, so that was another reason I wanted to see. You guys might have seen her recently in Suitable Flesh and among some other good stuff she's done. So definitely a fan of her work and so forth. So definitely another reason besides it obviously being horror, and we don't get a lot of horror westerns. So when they come around, you're kind of interested. I mean, westerns are for some people and not for everybody, but I kind of like it. It's a little bit different. We, like I said, don't get a whole lot of western horror, so you take what you can get, and it's usually a different situation and so forth. So yeah, you have well, as it says there, very simply, a mother and daughter who are out, in the middle of nowhere basically, and the father is apparently been killed, or he passed away, and so they're on this ranch kind of alone. You have a small little home, and then you got a little outhouse there and some land, and you'll see the father is kind of buried up on a little hill there, not too far away. So you kind of have that, and they're kind of like down in this little ranch, and hills and just grass and some trees around. Not too many neighbors or anything else going by. Apparently, there's a town. It's a little ways away from there, but they're pretty much just kind of trying to keep on their own. So in the beginning, you're going to get a kind of introduction to the two of them, and a little bit of seeing their life there, as they're just going by day to day and just trying to survive. Obviously, the mom and daughter obviously love each other. You kind of see that, but you also see that maybe they've spent a little too much time on this ranch together. A little bit of friction there, as one might expect. But they're still getting along here and living day to day out here in the middle of nowhere, and especially since they're just two women there. Remember, this is back in the day. Outlaws and gangs are around, and that's what we have here. So out and about, kind of, I guess, looking for supplies or whatever. They run into a guy who's been injured, and they drag him back. They do, the good thing to do. I mean, I guess they could have left him there, but they do him a solid, and they bring him back to their house, put him in bed there, and kind of get him all straightened out. And when he wakes, he kind of freaks out, doesn't really know where he is, what he's doing there, and it's a little aggressive towards them, and you'll see that he's at he's kind of up and down. Maybe he's a good guy, maybe he's not. But he's definitely, been part of something bad that's going on. So as you kind of see him there, you will learn that he's stolen some money, stolen some loot from a gang who just basically stole the money. And so as they will quickly learn, some bad people are going to come looking for him, which kind of puts them in danger. So as they're trying to kind of nurse him back to health, he has a leg injury, so he really can't move out of the bed there. You're going to see some back and forth. He gets aggressive at times, and there's not much he can do in the bed there, but they kind of, she kind of gives him the gun at one time, and he's like, oh, I got the gun, and blah, blah, and she's like, well, I'm not that stupid to give you a loaded gun, and, that kind of thing. So, really, he's at their mercy, or at least at the mother's mercy. The daughter, the mom is kind of strict with him. The daughter, is kind of like a little bit more of, like, let's help him, and then kind of, taking him for, kind of like an honest person. But the mom is kind of like, no, I know at the end of the day he's a bad guy, so not going to trust him too much. But at the end of the day, they're going to end up all on the same side, because these people are going to come for the money, and they don't really care, what's going on in there, who these women are, or whatever, and so forth. So as a little bit of time goes by, the girl's, she's still learning. She's not, as wise as the mom. So she kind of realizes that they may be short on weapons, and amongst the conversation that they've had with this guy here, to defend themselves. So she runs off, and one night when the mom is not really paying attention, and goes and tries to get some weapons, and she steals two guns, two rifles, I believe, and tries to bring them back to her mom before this gang kind of makes it to their home, and almost in the process of it, kind of indirectly leads the gang to the home, because they basically kind of pick up her trail. As she kind of makes it back, so does at least one of these gang members, is following her. A small shootout kind of starts, then a bigger shootout kind of goes, and then we kind of have this face off here between the mom, the guy, and the daughter, and this gang out here, all over this money and so forth. So and I'll just kind of leave it at that. And if you've noticed, I've mentioned basically nothing of horror yet in that kind of description and what I was talking about. And that's kind of how I felt as watching this, because like I said, besides wanting to see it because Heather Graham is in it, it was mentioned that it's horror. So I'm watching it, and it's going by, and I'm like, where's the horror? And I'm waiting for the horror, and I'm like, I'm watching a Western movie. This is still a Western. We're having a we're getting to the point where we're going to have a shootout here. Nothing is I had, and I'm not going to say too much, because like I said, I want to keep it spoiler free here. But I had a couple of things in my head. I'm like, okay, is the horror going to be this? Is the horror going to be that? As certain things, as we got the gunfight kind of starts, I'm like, okay, so this is going to be the horror. Like, a shootout doesn't mean that it's horror, and even if somebody dies or gets shot, that doesn't really make it a horror movie. So, but I had, a couple of things, and I'm not going to say those things, but I had a couple of things. I'm like thinking, okay, maybe that's where the horror is going to come. So I'm like waiting. I'm like, still a Western. We're having a shootout. This and back and forth, and the drama's built up there, definitely, like I said. But shootout occurs, people are gonna get shot, maybe some people are gonna die. So all this is going on, and I just I'm almost at the point that, where in the hell is the horror of this movie gonna happen? Have I been gypped? Was I fooled? I even went back to the press release. I'm like, I swear it said horror in here, and after I had already seen it and knew where the horror actually came from, I just wanted to go back and make sure that I didn't just kind of miss it there. But I was just where is it happening? And then finally, I mean, you're literally going to have to wait to almost the very end of this movie till the horror, the true horror that they will make clear to you is there. It is going to come late in the film. So, if you're kind of watching this review or kind of wondering at the top why I'm talking about a Western or whatever, and wondering where the horror is, you're going to be in the same boat as me. You're going to have to wait really long time to figure out where the horror is. But I will say that maybe you guys figure it out quicker than I will. Like it was not something I took into account, and maybe I should have. After the horror makes itself apparent, and I'm not going to tell you what that horror is. I'm going to leave that spoiler free so you guys can catch it, and maybe have to suffer through the Western like I did before the horror comes. Maybe I was kind of thinking about it and I go, okay, it definitely fits. It's definitely there. I just never had it in mind, so it kind of went over my head. So when it makes an appearance, I was like, oh, okay. And then I was thinking, there's a couple of things that happened, and I was thinking, okay, if I was thinking this before, then I would have picked it up. So, I guess that's one of the biggest things I can say about this movie is that it's going to be a lot of Western. So if you really hate Westerns, you don't like Westerns, this might not be for you. It might not be enough horror in it for you to, when it kind of gets to that time of the horror, it might not be enough for you to kind of outweigh all the Westernness that you just watched. So I guess that's kind of a warning for you if you're not into Westerns or whatever. It is a Western, but I mean, it could have been even in a more early, more recent setting. Just think of it as people held up in a home and having to fight off people from trying to get inside. I mean, if you just want to kind of break it down and just kick it out of the Western feel for you. But yeah, there, if you've already seen this, I like I said, I know it's new, but maybe some seen it or seen it before this review. You know what I'm talking about. You know that you're going to have to wait to a long time in this movie before the horror comes. So is it worth it? Horror wise, maybe not. Like I said, if you just want to wait through it and kind of get to that point and go whatever and kind of have that satisfaction, then it is. But if you're expecting the movie to be greatly horror, a lot of horror and whatever, that is not. So it is a good twist, a good thing coming. It will kind of wrap everything up for you. But you're gonna have to watch a lot of movie that's not really horror in order to get to that point. And I guess that's the thing I can say. Heather, as expected, she does a good job. I thought her daughter did a good job as the woman who plays her daughter did a pretty good job. Like I said, she kind of plays innocent, but then it kind of takes a few moments to maybe kind of come out of that. The gang is there. They're okay. I think the guy who also plays in the bed there, injured, does a pretty good role. I think a few of them may have gotten into the Western feel of it, maybe a little bit more than some of the others. But overall, it was still, pretty good. So I guess, without giving it away and talking, I guess if I was going to do it spoiler-wise, I'd have a little bit more to say and tell you. I will tell you that I liked the twist. I liked when the horror was revealed. I was like, oh, damn, why didn't I see that before? So I did enjoy it, did see it fit. Kind of made me feel good about what I had just watched. And again, not because it's bad or whatever. It's just I was waiting for horror, and it was like I was feeling really bad that I was like, oh my god, I've watched this and there's just none, and I got suckered into this. But yeah, it is there. So, it is a little bit relieving to see, but also, I was like, okay, it kind of wraps up the story very nicely and kind of puts everything together. So, that's really all to say. Again, I don't want to comment on the horror and the ending of the movie to ruin it for you. Otherwise, maybe I'd have a thing or two more to say. But yeah, I guess that's the big deal of everything in this movie and so forth. So with that, I'm gonna give it 3 pools of blood because I thought it wrapped up nicely. I guess it's kind of like one of those things where I was probably gonna give it 2 pools of blood, if any, because it didn't seem like it was horror. But because I was kind of satisfied with what they eventually did, even though it wasn't huge, there wasn't a lot of horror. At least it put a smile on my face and helped. I was happy. So, it could almost go 2.5. So either between 2.5 pools of blood and 3, somewhere along those lines. I'll kind of split it there. Let you guys put the final nail in it once you guys see it. So again, this is a new movie coming out, and I believe if I remember to do it, I will put the press release, the link to that down below, so you guys can catch information about that, where you guys can find it, and so forth, and definitely read that it does say horror in there. So I'm not crazy. Well, I am crazy, but not that crazy. Anyway, so with that, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video. Certainly, mostly videos of late. So like, subscribe, and do everything that everybody else wants you to do here on YouTube. But if not, no worries. It is okay. I thank you for your time, whether you've checked out a review or something in the shorts or so forth. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. Feel free to like and follow me there. Talk horror, talk about this movie, other movies. If you have something you want me to review, recommendations out there, like I tell you guys all the time, of a good movie that I've not reviewed, and you think I should, please feel free, or even just for my enjoyment, whether I review it or not, I'd definitely be interested in seeing it. And definitely in the comments section, once you guys kind of catch this movie, what do you think? What do you think of the ending, the horror that's eventually revealed? And try not to give it away for others who might not have seen it. But if you have to, whatever, it is what it is. I'm not going to give it away, or hopefully I have not. Sometimes I worry that I do, even though I try not to. But regardless, yeah. So with that, I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.